Hey everyone, I'm Vladimir Duthiers.
And I'm Christine Johnson. Thanks for joining us.
After 18 days of marathon talks, a historic agreement has finally been reached today. The deal was struck early this morning, and President Obama declared just how important this deal was to our national security.
I strongly believe that our national security interest now depends upon preventing Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon, which means that without a diplomatic resolution, either I or a future U.S. president would face a decision about whether or not to allow Iran to obtain a nuclear weapon or whether to use our military to stop it. Put simply, no deal means a greater chance of more war in the Middle East.
So here's a breakdown of the deal that was struck. Iran's nuclear program will be frozen for the next 10 years, meaning it will not be able to produce enough material for a nuclear weapon. It will reduce stockpile of enriched uranium by 98%.
Also, 2/3 of its centrifuges from its main reactor will be removed. In return, the West has agreed to relieve economic sanctions on Iran. Now, following the deal, our Margaret Brennan sat down with Secretary of State John Kerry. Take a listen.
Well, one of the toughest points that you were arguing well into the early morning hours was about the arms embargo.
Sure.
Now, Iran will have the ability to buy conventional weapons in as little as 5 years. How are you okay with walking away knowing Iran will be having more access to weapons?
We're not okay.
quickly?
In the United States, we have the support of Russia, China, Great Britain, France, Germany. If we suddenly went off by ourselves and said no to this, we're not only going to lose the support of the international community, we're going to lose the access, lose the accountability. We have no mechanism, and Iran goes off and does what it wants. Nobody can tell me how we are better off with that.
Well, one of the toughest points that you were arguing well into the early morning hours was about the arms embargo.
Sure.
Now, Iran will have the ability to buy conventional weapons in as little as 5 years. How are you okay with walking away knowing Iran will be having more access to weapons?
We're not okay.
quickly?
And the United States of America can always do other things. I mean, we can, people can decide that there's a rationale for re-upping after 5 years. But here's the bottom line. 7 nations were negotiating. 3 of the 7 nations were in favor of no embargo whatsoever. Let them do what they're doing now. 4 wanted to keep it. And so we kept it for the period of time that we could negotiate, understanding also that the Security Council resolution on which all of this is based actually contemplated that if Iran came to the table and negotiated, all the sanctions would be lifted.
But now Iran can buy missiles and import and export them in 8 years.
No, they have a missiles embargo for 8 years, and no matter what happens, the length and time of this deal is 10 years, so you have a differential of 2 years. But look, here's the bottom line, Margaret. Either you get Iran to come into an agreement where you limit their nuclear weapons, or they will go do everything they're going to do with missiles and have a nuclear weapon at the same time. Again, the critics do not answer the question of, so what do you do about their nuclear capacity? They already developed their nuclear capacity. When President Obama became president, they already had enrichment. They already had centrifuges. They already had the ability. They already had fissile material for a number of bombs.
How do you expect Iran's behavior to change?
I don't know. I can't tell you. All I can tell you is they say that they will. They say there are things they're going to do. They say they're going to live up to it. But we put in place in this agreement very clear and firm mechanisms by which if Iran doesn't change, they've got problems. All of our options are available to us all the time, Margaret. We haven't lost any ability to do anything. But we are, in fact, gaining the ability to restrict the program, have insight to it, and hopefully give them an opportunity to prove to the world it is indeed a peaceful program.
Now, while some are considering the agreement a victory, many lawmakers back here at home aren't so sure, including New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez, who spoke with our Nancy Cortez.
The deal ultimately legitimizes Iran as a threshold nuclear state. The deal doesn't end Iran's nuclear program. It preserves it. The deal doesn't provide for the anytime, anywhere inspections that we were all talking about. The deal also lifts the arms embargo on conventional weapons in 5 years and potentially missile technology in 8 or sooner. Those are problematic because Iran is the biggest supporter of terrorism in the world and certainly in the region. So to allow them greater access to conventional weapons, to make it easier for them to foment their unrest in the region, is really consequential. So those are some of the alarm bells that have raised. We'll have to look and see, as Tom Friedman of the New York Times put it a week ago, whether this is the best bad deal that can be achieved.